welcome back to Ava Cooks It All. Today we'll be making a carrot cake with a cream cheese frosting. Today our ingredients will be ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg, brown sugar, canola oil or vegetable oil, flour, olive oil spray, salt, baking powder, baking soda, eggs, and carrots. And then in our cream cheese frosting, we have powdered sugar, pure vanilla extract, cream cheese, unsalted butter, and original sour cream. First, I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Next, I'm going to line my pan with Pam and add parchment paper to the bottom. The ingredients calls for 2.5 cups flour. So I'm going to get some of my flour into my cup. I'm going to level it off and I'm going to add it into my bowl. Then I'm adding my ground cinnamon into the mixture with my flour. Then we're going to add our 1 1/4 teaspoon baking powder into our mixture. Then we're going to add 1 teaspoon baking soda. Then we're going to add our 1/2 teaspoon of our salt. And as well as my 1/2 teaspoon ground nutmeg. Now I'm going to whisk it all together. Then we're going to get our 1.5 cups vegetable oil. Make sure when you're getting your oil to get down low and look from the side to make sure you have the correct amount. Then we're going to pour it into a larger bowl. Then we're going to pour 1.5 cups sugar into our olive oil bowl. Then we are going to add 1.5 cups brown sugar. Make sure it's packed so that it will keep its shape. That was satisfying. Now we're going to add 4 eggs.
Why are you breaking them into that little bowl?
In case there's any shells that get in there.
What's the best way to get a shell out if it's in that little cup?
Use the other shell to get it out.
Good advice.
Plop. Plop. Then we mix. Then we're going to add our flour mixture to our oil mixture. Then we're going to mix again. Grate up 1 pound of carrots. Make sure not to cut your finger. Be very careful. Once your carrots are all the way grinded, you're going to pour them into your other bowl. You're going to mix them up until really well combined, and then you're going to pour it all into your 13 by 9 inch pan. Now we're going to pour it into our 13 by 9 inch pan. Make sure to spread it around so it all doesn't go in one spot. Now we're going to add it into the oven and bake for 35 to 40 minutes. The way you know the cake is done is by taking a toothpick and poking it in the middle and around the edges. If it comes out clean, then it's ready. If it comes out with crumbs all over it and it's still wet, then you'll put it back in the oven. Now that our cake is out of the oven, we're going to start making our cream cheese frosting. We're gonna pour in our 12 ounces of cream cheese. Here, I cut off 6 tablespoons of softened butter and added them to my cream cheese mixture. Add 1.5 tablespoons of sour cream. Pour in 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract as well as 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm doing it over a separate cup, so if I get too much, it won't go into my mixture yet. Now I'm gonna mix all my ingredients together. Now I'm gonna add 1.5 cups of powdered sugar to my mixture. Now we're gonna put our cream cheese frosting on our cake and spread it evenly. This recipe came from the Complete Baking Book for Young Chefs. I made this carrot cake so I can share it with my sisters and my Nana for a tea party. Thank you for joining me in making a carrot cake. Make sure to come back to Ava Cooks It All soon.